Meep, don't mind if you hear my nephew in the background. My brother is just explaining to his toddler how Spectra works. So, but I just got back from a weekend of back-to-back Proquest wins. I played in a 31 and then 26 player Proquest, and I won both of them on this same Aurora Shooting Star deck. I theory crafted this deck pretty early when the set dropped, and I have been refining it with a buddy of mine here in Utah, and we have it at a place where we're very happy with it, and it's doing some things that are different than some of the Aurora decks I've seen running around. So we're going to talk about those today. There are 3 things I want to highlight. First is the blues. We're running 14, a lot more than some of the other Aurora decks I've seen, on as low as 6 blues. We've got 6 Blast to Oblivion here, something that I haven't seen any other Aurora decks using, and we're also playing Face Purgatory, so we'll talk about those one at a time. First, the blues. The blues, I've seen some Aurora decks on as little as 6 blues. Our Aurora deck is on 14. I think my buddy's has 13. And that lets us do some pretty powerful things. The first of which is it lets us use, obviously, Aurora's hero ability. If we have a blue, we can play a 0-cost attack, swing Starfall, activate Aurora. You can do that every turn, and you have a very stable, very consistent plan of always playing a lightning card, swinging Starfall, activating Aurora. You can do the same thing next turn. You can do that basically every turn if you want to. You can also activate Grasp of the Arknight. Grasp of the Arknight is an incredibly powerful equipment card, and I don't see people using it very often. This has Battle Worn. It's going to be around the entire game, so you can always use this. A lot of decks aren't running Arcane Barrier into Aurora. So if you have the blues to actually pay for Grasp of the Arknight, that means that when you get a Channel Lightning Valley out, you can always guarantee that card draw. Speaking of Channel Lightning Valley, having more blues means that we're better at keeping it around. We actually have the blues that we want to be pitching into it. I've seen a lot of Aurora decks on stream and stuff do something like play Channel Lightning Valley and draw a card that turn, so Channel Lightning Valley has replaced itself, and then they pitch a red lightning card to swing their sword for 2 to keep Channel Lightning Valley around so that they can replace the red card they just pitched. They traded 2 cards for 2 cards, and a sword swing, I guess. That's not very impressive to me. Our deck is a lot better at abusing Channel Lightning Valley, which we'll get into a little bit more later. Our deck also can run things like Weakest Link and Command and Conquer here on the sideboard, and I'm also on Snuff Out here. These are really powerful disruption cards, staple disruption cards for a lot of decks that can use them, and if your deck doesn't have blues in it, you can't pay for these cards basically ever. Our deck has the blues, we can play these. The second thing that our deck is doing is we're playing Blast to Oblivion. This is a really cool card. It's a really fun card. A lot of Aurora decks are already playing Instance. You can side this card into those Aurora decks without losing too much. And what this card does is it lets us reset some of these auras. So we're playing a little bit more auras than some of the other Aurora decks, but the first aura and the most important aura in our deck is Channel Lightning Valley. Like we said, we're good at keeping this around because we have the blues and to pitch to the channel triggers, and because we have those blues and we're keeping this around for longer, we're better at keeping it around long enough for us to find a Blast to Oblivion so that we can bounce it and reset it to reset its channel triggers so we can keep it around even longer. I've had games where I've had 1 Channel Lightning Valley out, and then I've reset it and then had it out, and I've had 1 Channel Lightning Valley for like 4 or 5 or even 6 turns. Sometimes multiple Channel Lightning Valleys out for multiple turns. It's an amount of pressure that no deck in the game can deal with. If you have multiple Channel Lightning Valleys out for multiple turns, you usually just win. There's not a whole lot that the decks can do to recover from that amount of card advantage. We're also playing some other auras. Because we are bouncing auras, I like Sigil of Conductivity. It's a blue, it's a lightning card, it's an instant, and it's an aura. So it it does just enough of all of those things that I really enjoy it in this deck. A lot of the times this just stays on the board until we see Blast to Oblivion, and then you bounce it and you just put a blue into your hand and get go again for that turn. It's great. Sometimes you're playing against a Rune Blade and they make Rune Chance and you end your turn on this, and you know that you're going to have go again on your turn because they're going to break it because of Arcane Shelter. Sometimes you're playing an Aurora mirror and somebody has Sigil of Suffering and they want to ping you for 1, but they know they aren't getting that ping through because of Sigil of Conductivity, and it just ruins their defensive power. This is mostly a glue card, but it's a really good one. I'm on 2 of those and 2 blinks as my blue instant cards. My buddy Jordan is on 3 blinks and 1 sigil here. The other aura we have is Malefic Incantation. This is another aura that stays on the board for multiple turns, which means it's easier to Blast to Oblivion with it. If you can line up Blast to Oblivion on 1 counter on this, which is usually actually not that hard to do, you can play it out, and it's 5 arcane damage trickling in over the course of 5 turns. That's really powerful. It's a lot harder for an opponent to deal with than 5 arcane damage just at one time. You can pitch a blue and prevent 3, but you can't pitch a blue every turn to prevent 1. That's ridiculous, and most decks won't do it. So you're trickling in that damage. You're actually getting the value out of this. And Malefic Incantation has the added bonus of being really powerful because of Channel Lightning Valley. If you have Malefic Incantation out, Channel Lightning Valley is going to hit all the time. And I've had turns where I've threatened 4 arcane damage because of cards like Malefic Incantation. And decks cannot afford to be pitching for our AB4 total and blocking out our attacks while we have Channel Lightning Valley out. It just doesn't happen. Malefic Incantation also enables us to play cards like Snuff Out. If I didn't have Malefic in my deck, I would not be playing Snuff Out, but because I do, I can. Snuff Out is a 3-block a lot of the time, and when it's not a 3-block, it's really powerful. It's Destroy an Aura, so we can play off of a Malefic Incantation. You have 1 Rune Chant when you play it. You can break that Rune Chant. You can break a Sigil of Conductivity. It stays around on the board against the non-arcane deck, for example. If you're playing against, like, I don't know, a ninja, they're never breaking this, so you can just put this out, and then when you see this, you know that you can break it if you need to. You can just float 2 resources and threaten Aurora. If they don't block, you can make a Embodiment of Lightning and force them to discard. Usually people will block so that they don't have to discard. Or you can order your triggers during the resolution step to draw a card off of Channel Lightning Valley and then destroy it to make your opponent discard. So you can turn your Channel Lightning Valley into 2 cards, a 2-card advantage. You draw 1, they discard 1. Can be really powerful when it lines up. A lot of the time it's just an attack that blocks for 3, and that's also fine. And then the last thing our deck is doing is we're running Face Purgatory. This card is really powerful. We're running 13 non-attack actions to facilitate it. I find that that's enough that I am able to trigger it fairly regularly. It's not an every game thing. Sometimes it's just a 2-block, and I'm happy enough with that. Sometimes it's a 2-block that draws me a card and lets me block with a card for free, and I'm also happy with that. Sometimes it's a 2-block that lets me draw a card and makes my opponent discard a card, which is like back-breaking at times. This card is really powerful. I think that, you know, if you sacrifice a tiny bit of consistency in your deck, you can get a lot of power out of this card. Yeah, that's my deck. I play this deck basically exactly how it is both days. Having the blues also means that we're a little safer into the wizards. I find that it's pretty difficult for Oscilio to amp his surge effects more than 3 a lot of the time. Unless he's doing a combo turn, it's hard for him to amp more than 3, and we actually have the blues to pay for AB3. and we can run AB3, Spell Void 3, and we look pretty safe into Kano as well. That's where my deck is. My buddy Jordan is playing some different things in his build, so you have some things on the maybe board here. He's on the Flicker Wisp, Arc Lightning combo for some of his Earth and Guardian matchups. He also has Flittering Charge, and he's not running Malefic Incantation and Snuff Out. I really like these cards. I find them very fun to play with and also powerful, so I'm happy to keep them in. He prefers other things, so he does other things. You can switch around your blues however you like. Maybe you think Sigil of the Arknight is not funny, and you want to play just a Lightning non-attack in that slot instead. Go for it. I don't care. Yeah, but that's where the deck is. Have fun. I think this deck is more complicated to play than some of the other Aurora decks, but when it does the thing that it does, it is incredibly powerful. It is so unbelievably powerful. I have games where I have 2 Channel Lightning Valleys out for 4 turns, and they just lose. People just lose. It's really cool. It's super fun. Last to Oblivion is a heck of a card, and yeah, have fun.
From into the skies, whatever wanna do, just wanna try to be a pro,